I used to like going to comic book and horror conventions during the pre and early internet days. This was where you got independent movies, t-shirts, music, and all of that sort of thing. One that I went to in 2007 played a new independent horror movie called Behind the Mask: The Rise of Leslie Vernon. I liked it and bought the DVD, and after rewatching it a few times, I realized that this isn't just some horror movie, but it's kind of a love story about a guy searching for his true love or his survival girl. The film is shot as a documentary set in a world where killers depicted in slasher films like Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees, and Michael Myers were real people. An aspiring journalist named Taylor and her two cameramen have been invited to shoot a documentary on a person attempting to become one of these psycho killers. It's not clearly explained why these three people would follow along with a guy claiming that he's going to become a famous serial killer. In the late 90s and early 2000s, some pretty quirky documentaries did really well. Maybe Taylor thought that some wacky guy living in a small rural town working on becoming a serial killer would be more comedic than serious. As their documentary begins, Leslie tells Taylor that as a boy he became possessed and killed his entire family, then was killed by the townsfolk. But he actually survived their attack and escaped unnoticed. He then walks her through how, in one night at his family home, a rundown farmhouse with an orchard where teenagers sometimes went to party, he plans to kill those teens before being confronted by his chosen survival girl, a local 17-year-old named Kelly. Leslie, who has studied those famous serial killers of the past, explains that the survival girl was an innocent girl who had to be a virgin in order to battle the killer alone to the death. In addition to a strict physical training regimen, he's learned theater techniques to create the proper atmosphere, plus rig the farm in his favor. Like sealing off exits within the house, mapping the routes his victims will take, rigging the electrical system to fail, and tampering with potential weapons that can be used against him. He intends his final showdown with Kelly to take place in a separate building, which was used to crush apples from the orchard. While filming, Leslie takes Taylor to meet his mentor, Eugene, and his wife, who tells him that Eugene is buried alive. Leslie describes it as a yoga type thing that Eugene does for overall good health, and they dig him up. After reviving him, Eugene tells Taylor that they, as killers, are meant to be a sacrifice, acting as evil to counter good, which brings out that good within the world. While listening to Leslie's updates on his plans on how he still needs a red herring, which involves killing someone who only has marginal contact with his survival girl, they decide to kill the local librarian where Kelly often studies late at night. Once there, going in for the kill, a man bursts in shouting Leslie's name. The librarian faints and Kelly runs off screaming, but Leslie and Taylor's crew manage to escape. Leslie explains that the old man was Doc Halloran, his former therapist, and he excitedly says that Halloran is his Ahab, a character from Moby Dick, one who serves as a counterbalance to all of Leslie's efforts. Taylor is starting to worry that Leslie may be a threat to Kelly. She goes to the diner where Kelly works to warn her, but Doc Halloran arrives and tells Taylor that Leslie is a mentally unstable man whose real name is Leslie Mancuso. Taylor confronts Leslie about the allegation and Leslie becomes angry. She thinks about ending the documentary, but they decide to try and talk Leslie into calling it off. Leslie knows which night that Kelly and her friends will be at the farmhouse, so Taylor and her cameraman go there. Taylor still thinks that Leslie can't be serious about committing murder until he begins killing those teenagers off. She freaks out and Leslie tells her to leave, but they decide to stop him. Taylor warns the remaining teens and the group turns to Kelly for leadership since she's the survival girl. But Kelly says she's not a virgin, so she can't be the survival girl. Then she dies when trying to escape, a victim of one of Leslie's traps. Taylor tries to interrupt Leslie's pre-planned murder schedule. One of her cameramen draws Leslie away from the house and becomes one of his victims, then continues picking off the group until only Taylor remains. Then Taylor finally realizes that she was set up this whole time. She, as a virgin, was always intended to be Leslie's survival girl. This wasn't like Laurie Strode or Ginny or Sally or Nancy, who became the survival girl by circumstance. Leslie did an intensive search for his perfect woman and found her, seemingly falling in love with her, but he's a psychopath. So love meant that she had to kill him or he would kill her. And as Leslie predicted, Taylor evolves into the survival girl. She gets trapped in the apple orchard barn, and in a final fight, Taylor kills Leslie. Afterwards, she douses the barn with gasoline and lights it on fire, maybe to hide all the evidence that she had in some way unwittingly participated in these murders to make her documentary. Leslie never got as famous as some of the others, but you really need a few sequels to do that. Sequels have been rumored for years, but it hasn't happened. And how would a sequel even be possible after Leslie was killed? Well, death never stopped any of the others from returning. And if you watch the ending credits, a security camera in the autopsy room reveals Leslie's charred body sitting up from the table. So it seems Leslie is still out there, somewhere in Hollywood's purgatory of studio development hell, once again searching for his next survival girl. Good night.
Boo.